All right, everyone. It's Super Auto Pets. We've got a new weekly. Let's see. Let's see what's going on. Let me get Hassan up. Let's see what's going on in the life of Hasanabi Piker. All right. See you later.
Oh, Chelsea Manning will be on operation, later. But the reality is, Turkey's involvement with Israel is always going to be Western-backed, just like Fethullah Gulen is a CIA Western asset. A Western-backed CIA asset.
All right. Audio listeners, it's tap time. Get in.
Turkish Minute için. Turkish Minute siktir. Washington Institute'da
I'll be back in a second. I just need the bathroom.
Anyway. It has now been confirmed that the IDF is now more worried about the quantity versus quality of their strikes. Yeah. So.
Oh my god. Wait, hold on. Hassan.
The thing is.
Actually, wait. Oh my god, Hassan actually installed the captions on his stream. I have to tell him I'm. Oh my god. The caption OBS plugin.
Officials in Qatar, mediator.
We did that like 2-3 days ago.
As well as in Turkey.
Oh, sick. Okay, great.
By the censorship office. The cabinet set a goal for us. In everyday words, it is to eliminate Hamas. We are determined to do it. This is our Munich. Everywhere in Gaza, this is our Munich. Jesus Christ. At what point do you unironically start believing your own propaganda? I think like there are legitimately people out there at this point. There are legitimately people out there at this point that like believe their own shit. Like at first it was more so like a Western focused propaganda op to be like Hamas is Nazis, Hamas is ISIS, but now they're like, no, actually they are literally Nazis like Munich. Also, the reality of it is that they've been doing this. They did this way more, as a matter of fact, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even in the 90s. If anything, they've done this less frequently. Israel used to openly assassinate Palestinian leadership. Even those who had nothing to do with like war whatsoever, they've killed leaders of the DFLP, PFLP, many other groups. Might have even killed, maybe suspicious, but might have even killed Yasser Arafat. So, no, I know what he's referencing. He's referencing the 1972 Munich massacre and said this is their new Munich, meaning that they want to repeat Operation Grapes of Wrath while they hunted down and killed the 11 Black September leaders possible. Oh, yeah. They're not talking about they're not talking about the actual Nazis. You're right. You're absolutely right. I was thinking of the Munich movie while also simultaneously, because it said Munich, I was thinking of Nazis. You are right. This is literally what I'm describing. Great movie, by the way, even though. לצערי ב-7 לאוקטובר לא הצלחנו לעשות את זה. אני חושב שאנחנו במגמת עלייה, אנחנו לא מחכים. אנחנו את הלקחים שלנו מהאירועים כבר מפיקים. We're already learning from them, implementing other. כמובן, ההיקף איומים שיש למדינת ישראל הוא חסר תקדים בשנה האחרונה, לפני האירועים האלה. גם במקרה הזה העיקר סמוי מן העין. יש הרבה מאוד דברים שפוחשים מתחת לפני הקרקע.
כן, אז ראש השב"כ לא הולך בין הטיפות, לא אומר נחסל אותם בכל מקום שהם יהיו בו. הוא אומר מפורשות, נחסל בכירי חמאס גם בקטר וגם בטורקיה. רונן בר אומר שהמשימה הזאת תהיה המינכן של הדור שלנו.
Saying the Munich of our generation. So,
Joining. Okay, we'll wait for you. I'm back.
Peki kimden gelmiş? Neyse boş ver sonra bakarım. Okay, anyway.
Yeah, I also have them fennel, if you didn't notice.
So they want war with other countries
I also
too,
have
then?
captions.
No, there won't be war with other countries.
If you didn't notice, you can edit them. You can edit them through advanced settings.
Dolce & Gabbana sent me a package.
You can do like insane things. Yes, I know, Elrond.
You think Israel's gonna annex Gaza? Like, what's their next move here?
Jason already beat you to that joke.
Baba, bırak. Tamam elleme şu anda. Boş ver. Tamam ben alırım ondan sonra. Yere atma. Oh my god. Oh my god. Baba lütfen bırakır mısın? Açma tamam yeter. It's a bill for stealing their suits? No, they want me to work with them all the time. They just sent me more stuff. Tamam baba bırakır mısın? Anyway, here, let's watch what Israel is doing in Gaza now.
Right, yes, this so-called new phase very much underway with things expanding in the south.
That's absolutely right. And the south is now the key point for the Israelis. Now, the reason for this, say the Israelis.
The weekly bus is just raised to Falcon and Dragon. Okay, well, I like Dragon. I like Falcons. Let's see.
That this is where Hamas's command and control center was. That this is where senior leaders.
Sap players, it's time. Get in. Come on.
Route into the south
oh, Torrent's here. My nemesis.
A lot of Israeli military activity in that zone. That's what they call it. We Palestinians call it just bombardment, and that's what we've seen. And we've also seen ground forces go in. Now, this is very alarming to the Americans because they've said very clearly.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't the Al-Shifa hospital, guys. I mean, color me surprised that the command and control center of operations, I thought, was Al-Shifa. Turns out it's not. That's crazy.
To the Israelis that they cannot use the same type of intensity of bombardment that they did in the north of the country. But that's exactly what we're seeing. And the Israelis very clear that they will conduct this war as far as they see fit. But even 59 days into the war, Hamas is still able to send rockets into from Gaza into the southern communities of Israel. The last alarm going off about 15, 20 minutes ago. So that's still something that's happening. And that does call into question the Israeli claims that they control the north and the central part of the Strip.
So all of this is going on. Meanwhile, pressure very much mounting on Benjamin Netanyahu from the families of captives being held in Gaza. We heard from them earlier today. Let's just have a quick listen to this.
We are facing a very difficult emotional situation where the heavy disaster, along with this ominous silence, has led 136 families to despair. We request a meeting with the War Cabinet to receive
more space in SAP. Are we waiting for anybody else?
Our family members now, not tomorrow, now. If you don't have time for us, we will go to someone else and we will find the one who will represent us.
Imran, what more do we know about this request for a meeting?
Don't think so. Okay, we'll start then. New weekly. Let's see what's going on. Tired for SAP? Fair enough. No worries. It happens. It happens to us all, don't worry. Alright. I pressed pause. Oh, sorry, I paused.
Of the families there that not everybody could attend, but
right,
that's
let's
been dismissed by the families. We're hearing that they're incredibly disappointed that this meeting didn't take place. The meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, so the families are hopeful that they'll be able to push their case. Now, they'll bring them back.
The fragile.
Maybe he isn't even listening to the families. He wasn't from day one.
The soft doggies.
I said this on literally October 8th, and I think that it's a statement that has been reiterated time and time again. Dude, I'm literally covering a fucking ethnic cleansing. If you're still fucking hyper-focused on Dolce & Gabbana, I don't know what to tell you, okay? Like,
oh my
shut
God,
the fuck
classic
up, please,
chatter.
okay? Yes, I got it. Yeah, they're racist. Okay.
Hi, behaving
fine.
beaver.
Please,
How are you
shut
doing?
the fuck up. Jesus Christ, dude. What the fuck? Just reorient your priorities, please.
I'm flickering. Yeah. It shouldn't be flickering anymore. I was resizing the window. It shouldn't be flickering anymore.
They linked it
That
again
happens,
as you were yelling
yeah.
at them. Yeah,
Don't
that's why I
worry.
banned them for 5 minutes.
It does
Just
flicker.
Calm down. Cool off, please. Anyway. As I was trying to state already, a point that needs to be reiterated over and over again is that the Israeli government's interests are not necessarily to protect Israeli citizens.
I've done that on the stream before. It's because I've got SAP in it's windowed, so I have to resize it so that it fits the resolution of the stream. And because I previously resized it.
For the Israeli citizens, that when you recognize that, you start understanding exactly why Israel moves in the way that it does. That's when you understand why Israel was too busy bombing Gaza immediately after October 7, while there were still Palestinian militants that had overtaken positions inside of Israel proper. They did not secure the kibbutzim and instead immediately went in to start pummeling Gaza. Okay? It's the same exact principle behind moving all of your limited resources into the West Bank to continue rapidly expanding in the West Bank, to continue doing pogroms in the West Bank, to continue suppressing Palestinians in the West Bank, somewhere, a area that you have no business being inside of. It's a violation of international law, not that it fucking matters. Moving limited resources into the West Bank away from
I like the weekly so far.
The border wall created a perfect opportunity for Palestinian militants to strike.
But I want it to be in windowed, Renner. I just want
the tensions also simultaneously.
I want it to be in windowed for a reason, because I'll tell you why. Because you can't do picture-in-picture overlaying while still having controls over most games. Having a picture-in-picture when you're in borderless. Oh, you mean borderless windowed? Okay, I'll try it. Alt-enter. No, I don't want that. 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 That was that's exactly what I wanted to avoid.
Was woke.
I don't want it to wrap all the way around.
Amongst the internal security apparatus.
But it actually did fix the resolution, so thank you.
Israel does not care. Israel as an entity does not care about Israeli citizens. They do not care about permanent security assurances. The last person that at least somewhat understood that in order to ensure permanent security in the region, by negotiating with the Palestinians directly and in an honest capacity, even though you didn't want to give them a full-blown state, was Yitzhak Rabin, a figure who was assassinated for that crime by a far-right Israeli psychopath. Okay?
Works in picture with me,
which is the umbrella organization that represents the families.
For some games,
significantly loud voice
when you have borderless, you can't actually get the cursor to show on the game.
By taking this meeting,
so Israel doesn't have the right to defend
itself.
No.
Good night. Goodbye,
this
I
is
said.
a snarky, cynical way to approach the subject matter, but technically, according to international law, no, Israel does not have a right to defend itself.
I just got a good NL clip you should use for a Twitch
random
post.
Palestinian children.
Or you can send it to me.
Israel is a belligerent occupier, and therefore, from the top of the hour,
look at it now.
Fuck you. God damn it.
Oh, he got God, dude. 10 out of 10.
At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. In order to defend yourself from the top of the hour ad break, you can subscribe for $5 or for free. Here's a 3-minute ad break now. God damn it. The man from the ether, thank you for the 10 gifted subs, allowing 10 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. You too can get lucky. Let's continue.
Translate into pressure on the people that can actually change things. And what they're looking for is a ceasefire to get more people out. Now, this is going to be very difficult for the Israelis because Hamas have already said that the negotiations now are over soldiers and military-aged men and women that they have in captivity. And in order to release those, they want a much more permanent truce.
Imran, we'll leave it there for the moment. Thanks for that. Imran.
So, yeah. Yes, if you are wondering, if you are shocked, like I said, Israel is not listening to its own citizens and their own concerns about the hostages that are still inside of Gaza because they do not give a shit. Because ultimately, they care more about pummeling Gaza, breaking the backs of the Palestinians, making it as inhabitable as possible to exist inside of Gaza, so much so that there are now reports coming out of Israeli troops unironically getting extreme diarrhea and diseases as a consequence of how shitty the water supply is and how limited the water supply is inside of Gaza proper. The troops that are invading Gaza are not able to deal with the limited infrastructure within Gaza. Ridiculous, I know.
But James Jr.'s goof, I'm not Turkish.
Israel-Hamas war, no safe places in Gaza, says family
I
shelter.
know that I use the fez on the pets, but I'm not Turkish.
It doesn't matter where you are now in Gaza, the fighting is getting closer and closer. People are sheltering in this hospital courtyard in the north of Gaza. Outside, the battle rages. Smoke rising from an airstrike nearby. Further south, they're intense again in the hospital complex. But in reality, it's not safe here either. 3-year-old Khalid was in one of those tents when a missile hit nearby. This is the intensive care unit. He's being treated on the floor. His distraught grandmother by his side. Khalid was hit by a single piece of shrapnel as he slept.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the most dangerous enemy combatant for Israel is a sleeping child in a tent next to a hospital. Those are the real victims here. After an entire seemingly endless bombing campaign where the Israeli occupying force claimed that Al-Shifa was the main headquarters of Hamas and found very little evidence to suggest that that was the case, after technically claiming that they cleared out the northern part of Gaza, hostages literally came out of North Gaza in the 7-day truce that occurred. Showing
yes, we're playing another round, Bemji.
And at least people who have like somewhat of an understanding of how military actions are supposed to work, that Israel did not actually take control over the northern Gaza Strip at all. That Hamas was still, and other Palestinian militias were still in operation within the northern parts, that they had been bombing endlessly.
Hi.
And now they have shifted
Elon
their
made
attention
Twitter
over to the
fascist.
southern parts. All this is doing is solidifying the stranglehold and the power and influence that all Palestinian militancy will have, reaffirming the support and creating Hamas 2, Hamas 3, and making many other join the ranks of anyone that will violently resist against this belligerent occupier.
Nice to have garlic. What else the pets to be?
This was the case before October 7th. It's terrifying. You posted a pic on your IG story of the IDF destroying a single apartment. The destruction they've done is even more disgusting, seeing their precision capabilities. Yes, Israel has the targeting capabilities and the striking capabilities of taking out a single floor in an apartment without even touching other floors. Okay? They don't do it. They don't use it regularly.
Fuck.
They take down entire city blocks deliberately. They take down civil society areas like universities, like the Supreme Court, like the government buildings on purpose because they do not care about eliminating Hamas. That has never been their genuine goal. The Plus 972 magazine report showed that. The AI targeting that they're utilizing, called the gospel, showed that. It proved it. It is simply the Dahiyya doctrine. Okay? We've known about it. We've known about it since Israel's operations in Lebanon. We've known about it since 1948, if you want to go all the way back there. And it has never really stopped. But with technological improvements, their targeting capabilities have improved, and yet they refuse to choose to use those weapons because they do not care about precise targeting.
I've never found the benefit of this.
We found the boy bleeding, and when we took him inside the hospital, we saw that a missile had hit behind the hospital. And as you can see, he's injured and he's in ICU. They say it's safe here.
Here you go, the Dahiyya doctrine, the punishing military doctrine that Israel may be following in Gaza. This was on November 10th on the Washington Post. It is what it is. That is precisely what's going on. Their goal has never been precise targeting. Their goal is to make it as difficult as possible for Palestinians to survive in the West Bank, to make it easier to engage in ethnic cleansing and ethnic displacement. What you are watching in front of your eyes is technological improvements upon the original 1948 Nakba strategy. That's it. The only thing that has changed is the intensity and the frequency of the bombing campaigns and the number of deaths as a consequence of the population growth. That's it. This was how Israel was created. Okay? This was how Israel was created in the Nakba. And this is how Israel is continuing to expand into Gaza.
In another hospital or at a different time, Khalid may have lived, but he did not. He couldn't be saved here. Family took him away, another child lost. The Israeli Defense Forces have confirmed their operations in the north are nearing completion, and the focus now is on the south.
But it's not. That's the thing. It's not nearing completion. It's not nearing completion at all. As the 7-day truce showed, Hamas and Islamic Jihad is still very much in operation in the northern Gaza Strip as well. They're still there. All they've done is destroy the infrastructure, the civilian infrastructure, the infrastructure that regular Palestinian citizens, more than 40%, 47% are children, rely on.
This could be really good.
The mosques, government buildings, hospitals. That's it. Those are the only places that have been eviscerated, wiped out, destroyed.
Wow, wat 'n pragtige blom. Ja.
One of those targets was a hospital that actually surprisingly didn't make it into the headlines, except for this one newspaper headline that I read, which was an unimaginable cruelty. I'm going to show you. And one of my, one of the friends of the show contributed to this article, and he's a great journalist. He didn't have anything to do with the obvious naming or the obvious titling of the article, but here it is.
Finally get a Biltong
sponsorship. 4 fragile lives found ended in evacuated Gaza hospital. 4 fragile lives ended. I want you to see this. Evan Hill is a part of the team there that wrote this. Here's how that article was titled on the Washington Post on the website. Israel's assault forced a nurse to leave babies behind. They were found decomposing. A nurse at Al Nazar Hospital was caring for premature babies. Then he faced the most difficult decision of his life. Israel's cruelty is so apparent, so glaringly obvious here that it was actually used as a justification. Babies being ripped out of incubators and thrown outside was used as a justification in the first Gulf War. That was found to be a lie, of course, but it's that much of a cruelty to do this to a premature baby.
It is.
That it was originally used. It was originally used as a justification to engage in the first Gulf War. Turns out it was false, but that false narrative is very much real in Gaza. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, I'm not saying it right. Anyway, who's the Director General of World Health Organization, says, today the World Health Organization received notification from the IDF that we should remove our supplies from our medical warehouse in southern Gaza within 24 hours.
Oh my God.
As ground operations will put it beyond use. We appeal to Israel to withdraw the order and take every possible measure to protect civilians and civilian infrastructure, including hospitals and humanitarian facilities. Nothing to do. Nothing you can do to stop it. Laila Al-Arian says, if we lived in a world that valued Palestinian life, the story of the decomposing bodies of babies left in the Gaza hospital because Israel forced medical workers out would lead all of the headlines. But because we do not live in that world, those headlines do not exist, and the times where that headline does exist, or places where that headline does exist, is greatly manipulated.
Oh shit, okay, well, it'll shuffle their position, so that's fine. Don't work for staying confined, you play SAP. Yeah, we'll do a few more rounds.
Some to consider, some to remember.
Have you had any sponsorships, and which would you be interested in? I haven't had any sponsorships, no.
I've seen so many odd takes on the timeline, and one of the oddest counters here is from Israel defenders talking about how ISIS burned Yazidis and Christians. Except,
okay, Renna,
if you are a defender of Israel,
that was a teachable moment.
You should probably know that ISIS and ISIS-style groups have always been aligned with Israel.
And I'm glad that chat realized what I was doing and caught on and didn't dogpile.
Is a partner.
Oh, the other one? Yeah.
Israel.
Yeah.
Israel
I have had
has
offers for
long
crypto
talked
sponsorships.
about openly how they much prefer al-Nusra in Syria to Bashar al-Assad. Many of the coalitions in that region, all of the Muslim forces in that region, openly fought against ISIS. From the Kurds to the Iranians to the Iranian-backed militias. Israel is the one regional power that openly aligned with ISIS-style Salafist brigades. So why is it that people keep repeating this narrative? Yep, because if al-Nusra is in Syria, Israel can invade and take more land. That's not the real reason.
True, I am sponsored by
The enemy of our
sub-gifters.
enemy is our friend is exactly what's going on there.
100%. Yeah, you're right, Darvik. I think this is the longest I've lasted in a chat, love you. Where's Fizz?
Okay.
Fizz is off on a journey, doing his own thing. At the moment. He's
Just
very
something
happy, though.
to consider when you hear people talk about ISIS and how nobody cares about ISIS in the region. What's more is that the Syrian regime and Assad has strategically intensified its assault on civilians in Idlib as the attention focuses on Gaza. Here is some stuff to show you. Here's a Times of Israel article.
Thank you. Might be a bit... Oh, good work. Whoa, Devin! Thanks for the raid. Holy moly. Thanks, Devin. Hope you had a good stream. Good to see you back at it again. I'm playing a pet game.
Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Are they even trying to give legit reasons for doing anything anymore? It seems like they're just going full mask off at this point. Yes.
Time to teach and have a good one, yeah.
In Vertigo, Israel remain obsessed. Wait,
I haven't
what is
seen
this?
half the pets on your roster.
No.
Oh my god, look at Torrent Blink is
Hold
just
on.
doing fucking... Oh
No,
my
this
god.
is a much, much older
Oh my
article I'm
god.
trying to find
Get
right
wrecked,
now.
Torrent Blink.
What are you looking for? The many different times in which, like, Israel defense ministers and other members of the Knesset have talked about how they prefer, in Syria, the power to be in the hands of al-Nusra rather than Bashar al-Assad. There is, of course,
Get wrecked,
older
Torrent.
articles, if you go back in time to, like, 2013, where they say they
You
prefer
wrecked my
Assad to
clone?
al-Nusra or any kind
Well,
of, like, Wahhabist
let's see if you can do it
involvement.
again.
But that changed very quickly. In practice,
Damn, I wanted you to move to the back. Anyway.
I'm trying to show the different instances where, like, they've offered material support. They've offered like directly members in ISIS health care. And things of that nature. Yeah. Al-Nusra Hospital.
Yeah, it shuffles in the lobby. Yeah. But it only gives friends a head,
Well, they
the buff.
halted it. Israel halts medical treatment for members of Syria's Nusra Front. The change took place a month after Israeli Druze ambushed wounded Syrian rebels and transported in IDF ambulances, killing one of the men. 5 members of the Druze community were later arrested on suspicion of murder. Oh, here. IDF chief finally acknowledges that Israel supplied weapons to Syrian rebels. That's one of the articles. Outgoing IDF chief of staff Gadi Eisenkot this weekend acknowledged for the first time that Israel had indeed provided weaponry to Syrian rebel groups in the Golan Heights during the country's 7-year civil war. Until Sunday, Israel would say only officially that it had given humanitarian aid to Syrian opposition groups across the border while denying or refusing to comment on reports that it had supplied them with arms as well.
Do I nap or play sap? That's a personal question.
Yeah. Direct funding, food, fuel, and medical supplies allegedly provided by the Israeli state to keep ISIS and Iranian allied forces in neighboring civil war at bay. Oh, this was the one I was thinking of. No, not this one. Israel prefers Bashar Assad, the Islamist rebels. No, this is originally back in 2013 they said this. And then they changed their policy shortly thereafter. Anyway. My friends who were serving the Air Force at times would get told to stand down a couple hours. Later, some targets would be struck by Israel. Please don't be one of those believers who started the entire Syrian revolution.
Yeah, you did wreck
Israel.
me.
We had every right to take
You
down
did wreck
Assad.
me. Okay, you got a
No,
tank.
I'm not
I
stating
see.
that at all. I'm simply stating that Israel did take advantage of the situation and use it as an opportunity to.
Well, I don't.
One,
so.
Reinforce the Golan Heights annexation.
Bro,
And
now.
two, absolutely engaged in destabilization alongside the United States by directly and openly supporting al-Nusra and many other Al-Qaeda style or ISIS style militancies in the region. I am, contrary to popular opinion, not an Assadist by any means. Okay? But let's be for fucking real for a brief moment here. You can't get away with claiming that you are attacking ISIS or that ISIS is this grave evil in the region.
Fuck you, dude.
While simultaneously defending, offering material support, offering logistical support, offering health care to ISIS-style militancies.
Well, I guess we just pray
Okay.
for the best. Oh no, move it out of the way. Oh god.
The idea behind the Israeli policy essentially meant that the rebel groups in southern Syria would not likely attack across the Golan Heights, but allowing Assad back in would bring Iran and Hezbollah that intervened in the civil war in the Golan Heights border. This is, of course, again, ridiculous considering the fact that Golan Heights is annexed territory, which Israel also occupies, which it has no business being inside of, but, you know, that's besides the point. Yet another ongoing continued occupation.
Yeah, you got me, dude. Well done.
The Western world looks
well done, Ridvan. You finally won a lobby. You deserve it.
Supports directly.
Well done. And he did it without a dragon. New game.
So, just a fun reminder for everyone. Whenever you hear people talk about Israel, whenever you hear people talk about
First
how Israel
ever.
is claiming that it's
Really?
ISIS. If Assad falls, Syria will be split into
well done,
part.
Ridvan.
Part will be
That
in
is
charge of
very
the US. I don't like
exciting.
Assad, but he holds Syria. What do you want? Sold the country to the West. So, that's the circumstances at hand. As Israel's bombing campaign continues, unimaginable amounts of cruelty. Hebrew sources, a dangerous and unusual outbreak of the Shigella bacteria among the occupation soldiers in Gaza. Massive cause of diarrhea and intestinal disease were recorded. It suggested the reason is poor storage of food supplies. Apparently, the IDF don't want to eat,
listeners,
like, the meals
it's time for a new
MREs.
game. By the way, my aunt gave me a whole bunch of pens, so if you hear shaking in the background, it's because I have to
held in cold storage, which
shake
is
them
supposed to
and
be,
press them all down to
that
activate
the
them.
civilians are
so
donating.
if you hear
to
shaking
the
in the
military,
background, don't worry. I'm just shaking
and because
pens.
it's not
That's
stored
literally
properly,
it.
they are fucking shitting themselves, like directly shitting their pants. Just another, I guess, omen to consider.
Yeah, keep posting the cat meme.
Let's continue.
Pictures show soldiers taking positions deeper and deeper into Gaza.
Yeah, the doctor's appointment went well.
The instruction to the population is to move further south immediately.
We are giving precise instructions to Gazan residents near Hamas centers of gravity, urging them to temporarily move away from the danger that Hamas puts them in.
But it's not easy. This is the road south. A woman with children and local journalists are attacked. They run for safety.
Attacked by who?
Whistle by. Why they were targeted is unclear.
Who's shooting at them?
They were heading south.
I wonder, who was shooting at them?
From across the border, the continuing targeting of the Strip is clear to see. Gaza City shrouded in smoke for much of the time. Groups of mostly American well-wishers are being given a tour of
Why
the
did
various
Taste
kibbutzim
Tasty get banned? Because I
attacked
don't
by
like
Hamas on
it,
October
and
the 7th.
Has Tasty is better.
They're at the border fence area. Amongst them, pediatric consultant Richard Schussler. His job is saving children's lives. His support for Israel is absolute, but it's difficult knowing what's happening so nearby.
I cry when I see Palestinian mothers holding little tiny corpses. It's horrific. And I'm outraged. But I'll tell you, as somebody who's pro-Israeli, very Zionistic, I feel horrible seeing those pictures. As somebody who's gone around the world to try to help children. But I'll tell you, every bit of that outrage and anger is not directed at the IDF. It's directed at the cowards of Hamas.
Yeah, it's a good way. It's a good way to launder genocidal rhetoric to people who are otherwise like kind-hearted liberals. That's it. Like that dude himself is probably not a bad person. With
he's brainwashed.
This very big notable exception. This very big
that
notable
he's a settler.
blind spot. You guys understand this, right? It's important to recognize the cognitive biases that these
that's
people
the thing,
have.
Is he probably
okay? The IDF says Gaza's main north-south road in the Khan Yunis area is a battle zone as it designates a new humanitarian corridor. That's it. That dude is like, I'm a huge Zionist. I cry for Palestinian children and Palestinian mothers holding their children, but it's Hamas's fault that they're dying. It's like, really? Is it Hamas's dropping the bombs on them? Because it doesn't feel like it. It seems like it's Israeli weapons, American weapons that Israel is using in the area. You know? It's just like, at that point, who cares? Yeah. Necessary evil, guys. It's just, you have to do it. You have to do a little bit of ethnic cleansing to fucking deal with the situation.
Israel's right to defend itself is undoubted, but it's the cost to human life that's the issue. And the numbers of civilian dead is equally, undoubtedly rising. Stuart Ramsey, Sky News, Southern Israel.
Had a little on the fascist base and these
Desperate residents of Khan Yunis flee on foot, carrying what they can of their belongings. On Monday, Israel ordered people out of swathes of the main southern city in the Gaza Strip. As they left, bombs fell on areas still described as
Are we
safe.
waiting for anybody else to join SAP? Anyone else?
Anybody else not in?
I hope people understand that this was never about self-defense.
I'm going to stop in a minute if not.
Offense, okay? And it has never stopped being about offense. It wasn't self-defense on October 6th, and it certainly wasn't self-defense on October 7th. Self-defense and attacking Hamas is simply the justification used to do this ethnic cleansing campaign. It's been self-defense for 75 fucking years, okay? It's not. It's conquest. That's it.
For a second or third time since the war broke out on October 7th. Hamdi Zahir
Yeah,
from
I showed
Gaza
this before. I showed this the day that it happened. This is in Khan Yunis, right?
There's no one you're in?
There you go. If Israel wanted to do a surgical strike, they could do that. Okay? The Israel Air Force this morning took out the 4th floor and the only 4th floor of a high-end residential building in southern Gaza. The target was the residence of a senior Hamas official. First and foremost, this is still a war crime.
I think Haigie's in.
You can't do that. Like, there's no world in which you go, okay,
right?
I've decided I'm going to take out the fucking family of like a senior Hamas official. You can't do that. Okay? You're just like attacking a residential building. I know that like our mentality is so distorted. Okay? So even this is technically not allowed. However, they also have this capability. They can take out just one floor instead of destroying the entire building. And yet they still destroy the entire building regularly. Okay?
Okay. We're starting.
Even this would still be a war crime, but would be a much more limited war crime, and they're not even doing the much more limited war crime. They're doing the much worse war crime. So just remember that. Okay?
Perplexed packages.
I don't know how much more evidence I can show you other than premature babies being withered away. No power as the IDF takes over hospitals in Gaza, evacuates nurses, and then just like leaves those babies on their beds, on the hospital beds to die without even taking them, without even giving them the proper medical care necessary.
Dude.
The nurses that evacuated that hospital openly stated, we thought that at least Israel would have the decency to take those children and offer them, to take those babies and offer them medical care absolutely necessary. And they just left them there.
Yeah, no worries.
He sheltered for a month in the Ashifa hospital, then was ordered south to the safe areas they're now being told to evacuate. Send us to the grave and be done with it, he says. Some 80% of Gaza's 2.3 million people have now been made homeless in an Israeli bombing campaign that has reduced much of the crowded coastal strip to a desolate wasteland. Israeli forces largely captured the northern half of Gaza in November, Since a week-long truce collapsed on Friday, they have pushed deep into the southern half. This house in Khan Yunis was struck overnight. Nisreen Abdulmoti lives next door with her daughter and 2-year-old baby.
They told us to move from the north to Khan Yunis since the south is safer. And now they've bombed Khan Yunis. Even Khan Yunis is not safe now. And even if we move to Rafah, Rafah is not safe either. Where do they want us to go?
The parts of Khan Yunis people were ordered to leave were home to more than 350,000 people before the war, the UN says, not counting the hundreds of thousands who crowded in to take shelter from the bombs. Medical officials in the enclave say Israel's bombing has killed more than 15,500 people, with thousands more missing and feared buried under the rubble. Israel launched its assault to annihilate Hamas in retaliation for the October 7th attack by its gunmen, who killed 1,200 people and seized 240 hostages, according to Israeli tallies.
It's like so unbelievably evil.
Certainly, he has used increasingly harsh rhetoric, not just against Israel and the Israeli military actions inside Gaza, but also specifically against Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, declaring him again today a war criminal, saying that he should be tried. He made similar comments in Dubai at the climate conference just a few days ago, where again he called on the international community, the United Nations, international humanitarian law makers to come into action and to put specifically Benjamin Netanyahu on.
I already talked about this earlier, that it is absolutely meaningless, and everything he says is completely meaningless. It's not a real thing at all. Okay? It's just, it's no different. It is no different than what the Saudi leadership says. Okay? They say all of this because they recognize that they need to maintain their popularity. They need to maintain their popularity. They know that on the ground, the people of Turkey are pro-Palestinian. On the ground, Saudis are pro-Palestinian. In Egypt, Egyptians are pro-Palestinian. But their leaders,
because you said smoking funny things, Elon made Twitter fascist.
Their strategic
joke books of funny things
with Israel.
It's okay, dude.
They
don't worry. Like
mere expressions or extensions.
It's okay.
Of U.S. foreign policy.
You're probably blazed.
Okay?
Don't worry.
That is precisely what's going on with Erdogan as well. Erdogan is the leader of a nation that is a NATO nation. Turkey is a NATO country. So he can say whatever the fuck he wants, but ultimately, oil is passing through from Azerbaijan into Turkey and directly into Israel. 40% of the oil that Israel gets, they get through Turkey. Okay?
That's funny as fuck.
I believe it's like around 30+% of all the steel that Israel gets, they get from Turkey directly. But it doesn't really matter. Okay? They would never in a million years do anything. They would never in a million years say, we're shutting it off. Because America will not do that. America will not take the action necessary. And without America taking the action necessary, these are just hollow points. They're just shallow, pandering talking points. It's pure political theater.
Trial for committing war crimes and what he calls crimes against humanity. He's due to fly off to Doha later today, where he's going to try and position himself as a facilitator of peace, particularly trying to push forward another ceasefire or lay the groundworks for another ceasefire to stop the bombing inside Gaza Strip. The other key question...
Turkey doesn't deserve Erdogan. Turkey should be in the EU and rid herself of this dictator. First of all, Erdogan or no Erdogan, Turkey's not getting into the European Union. Let's be fucking real, okay? Turkey is never going to be a part of the European Union. It's Muslim. It's a Muslim nation. Good luck. A Muslim nation with 90 million people, 90 million Muslims? Are you out of your mind? You think the EU would open up the floodgates of 90 million Muslims? There's just no shot that that would ever happen.
Question, though, that you pose is just how much weight does he carry? And certainly he carries a lot of weight within parts of the Arab world. There's no doubt about that. The Muslim world. He's a mover and shaker. He's definitely a very adept facilitator of certain things, particularly in Turkey. But remember, in other parts of the world, he himself is not considered a particularly role model upholder of human rights. He's long waged a war and a persecution against the Kurds, for instance, not just in the north of Turkey, but also across the border in Syria.
What about
so that certainly takes away part of his moral compass, if you like, and his ability to preach morals and take.
I love this idea that, like, oh, Turkey can't say anything because they're operating in the northern Syrian corridor. And it's like, yeah, that's precisely the reason why Turkey can say whatever the fuck they want, okay? They'll say whatever the fuck they want, but America still lets them operate in the northern Syrian corridor. Why does nobody ask the question how or why? Why is Turkey allowed to do that? Oh, that's right, because of the things that I just mentioned. Erdogan can say whatever the fuck he wants while also simultaneously controlling the northern Syrian corridor and engage in military operations whenever the fuck they want to, because they're doing the bidding of Western forces at that point. Western leadership allows them to do that. They give them the go-ahead. Okay? You think a fucking foreign nation, especially a Muslim one too, you think a foreign nation would be allowed to attack another foreign nation like that without America not giving them the go-ahead? Get the fuck out of here. The only reason why Erdogan gets to do that and also say whatever the fuck he wants to is because the reality is he's also supporting Israel aggressively where it fucking matters. Okay? Yok abi, çok güçlü olduğumuz için korkuyorlar bizden. Ondan bir şey demiyorlar. Araştırmanı öneririm. What? No. Güçlü olduğumuzla alakası yok. Saçma sapan konuşma. Evet, inanılmaz. Ha, dalga geçiyorum. Okay. Jesus Christ. I thought this guy was being serious. He's like, nah, dude, they're just afraid of how powerful our military is, but he was joking. He was being sarcastic. Praying for Palestine and mosques and raising the Palestinian flags in public is banned by Saudi Arabia rulers, and those violating it will be punished for crimes, claims man in viral video. I don't know how real that is, but I have heard something similar in Egypt too. Like demonstrations that are pro-Palestine are severely limited. I don't know if it's the case in Saudi Arabia, but like I know that even in Jordan, I know that the Jordan security forces have unironically apprehended pro-Palestinian demonstrators. They've done that. But it's happening in the Western world as well. We are doing it. We are doing it in the Western world too. When you have literally fucking German citizens, German Jews even, that are demonstrating for Palestine, getting apprehended. So why the fuck wouldn't it happen in those countries? Not to be nationalistic Azerbaijani, but I think Ilham Aliyev supports Israel only because the Turkish government does. Is this true, though? They both operate, they're both massive trade partners, as I described already. That's the reason. And also they used Israeli weapons in Karabakh to purge Karabakh of all Armenians. So, of course, there is a massive allegiance there. Yeah.
Take the high moral ground on this. But as
the other ironic part about this is also Russia. Russia is supposedly pro-Palestine, right? Russia is pro-Palestinian. They say they're pro-Palestinian all the time. Except Israel, aligning with Azerbaijan, was only able to purge that entire region of Armenians because Russia no longer was offering security assurances to the Armenians in that region. That could have never happened without Russia's go-ahead. So all of these regional players are constantly playing a song and dance, but the reality is they're all in bed with one another. through numerous proxies. Not to mention that I believe almost 20% of the Israeli population is Russian. That there's that too.
As far as Gaza is concerned, he has been resolute from the start that there should be no bombing inside Gaza, that there are more than 2 million people crammed into a very small space, that to bombard that area is basically consigning.
For sure, the U.S. signs off eventually on the ops, but the Turkish operation in northern Syria was definitely not in America's interest, and the U.S. argued with Turkey as much. It targeted the Kurdish SDF. Wait. Elon. Brother, come on. How many times has this song and dance happened between Turkey and America? America arms the Kurds. America offers logistical support to the Kurdish militias. America dangles the Kurdish nation state in front of the Kurdish militias every single time, and then literally pulls out entirely and says, go ahead, Turkey, do whatever the fuck you want to these guys that we just gave weapons to. Turkey looks at that and goes, these guys are terrorists. These guys are fucking terrorists. They're doing terror. We have to deal with them. Wipes them the fuck out. America gives them the go-ahead every single time. That has never been different. This switcheroo has happened so many fucking times. The problem is the Kurds have nothing. They have nothing. They are a 35 million ethnic group in permanent diaspora. They have no autonomy. They have no nation state. So because they have nothing, they literally turn around and go, okay, fuck it. Like, we'll deal with America, even though we know they're going to leave us behind. That has always been the case. Why do they do it? Because they have nothing. I'm telling you, they got nothing. What are they supposed to do? They have nothing. This has been going on since the 90s. What about northern Iraq? How is nothing? I mean, okay, fine. They have an autonomous area in northern Iraq. Great.
Don't get... Erdogan is so weird as not even being religious himself, but reinstating Islam in Turkey. No. No. Don't get me wrong, I used to live in Istanbul for 20 years and women didn't have to cover their hair back then, and that Muslim Brotherhood guy turned that shit around. No, that's not true. I know a lot of Muslim people. Turkey has always been Muslim. Okay, that's inaccurate. You don't have to cover your hair. It depends. It entirely depends on like what like, you know, for example, are you it depends on like sorry, like my brain is just not working out. It just really depends on like the type of Muslim you've been up. I know it's fine being Muslim. But like you don't like I know Muslim people that don't cover their hair. And there's no problem with it whatsoever. You know what I mean? But yeah. I know what you mean though.
Hundreds of thousands, possibly more civilians to death. And he's been quite unequivocal in his defense of Hamas. In Turkey, Hamas is not seen as a terrorist organization. In fact, he's declared Israel to be the terrorist state.
Like, it just really depends.
I mean, Israel is a terrorist nation, yes. Untime out, Elon. I'm saying they were using them against the Iranians. I'm not suggesting that the U.S. doing it out of values or supports Kurds necessarily. The operations against the Kurds in northern Syria in 2019 was not a common event. It may have been in northern Iraq, but the U.S. wasn't using Kurdish forces in northern Iraq against Iranian supply lines. The aiming of the 2019 Turkish operation was absolutely not in the U.S. interest at that time. I'm just simply stating that it doesn't matter, and America will still turn a blind eye to that, even if it goes against their interest, because that is the assurance that Turkey always has. And that is also part of the reason why Turkey is not interfering with supplies going into Israel through Turkish pipelines. That's my point. My point is, Erdogan can say whatever the fuck he wants and position himself as anti-Israel, but the reality is, where it actually matters, Erdogan is very much pro-Israel. The biggest pro-Israel. Okay? That's it. Kurds are not a power player in the region. They are not even a minor player in the region. They're just a militia force that America utilizes against whoever the fuck they deem the enemy at the time.
Of war crimes inside Gaza, and he's portrayed and identified Hamas to a very willing Muslim population in Turkey as a resistance movement. So from that point of view, he does represent a lot of people's views, particularly in the Muslim world, where it's seen very, very differently. The whole approach from the Muslim and the Islamic world is seen about Israel's actions and the Israeli military actions inside Gaza is viewed very, very differently here.
It's so interesting, Alex. I mean, two kind of linked follow-up questions for you, which is, does he differ in his view with the West on this war much more so than he does with the Russia-Ukraine war, or has he also taken the side of Russia there in a way that he's taking the side perhaps of Hamas in this particular conflict? And does he need to do this for a domestic audience? Because there was a period of time a couple of years ago where there were questions about his ability to hold on to power he's had for many, many years, of course, in Turkey. But that is somewhat behind him now, is it not?
I mean, I think he definitely is straddling a very difficult situation in Turkey. They've got an absolutely rampant inflation problem here and huge growing economic problems. So he's very mindful of that. I mean, the exchange rate, for instance, against the pound is 36 at the moment. When I first came here a few years ago, it was 5. So, you know, at Christmas a year ago, it was nearly 100% rate of inflation. It's still growing almost by the day, definitely by the week. So people's pay packets are not worth as much, and he's definitely got his eye on that. But he is president of a huge Muslim country, and at the start of the ground invasion, at the start of the Israeli bombardment inside Gaza, there were quite large demonstrations across the main cities, and including attacks on the Israeli embassy and the American embassy. There's a lot of anger about what Israel is doing inside Gaza. As I say, the view from this part of the world, and also in other parts of the world, you know, Lebanon, Egypt, you know, the surrounding Islamic countries, is viewed very, very differently. They're looking at 75 years of things, you know, being tilted against the Palestinians, and they very much don't like the way that America is positioning itself as the puppet master with Israel, and all the weaponry that's being sold to Israel, the political...
Why does he pander for Palestine when behind closed doors he supports Israel? What do you mean? Because the population supports Palestine. That is how it is.
Sorry, I was just dealing with some
because
things.
He's not America, okay?
Sorry, I was just dealing with some
things. In the United States
things.
of America, you could just say, you can be an American politician and look at like a sea of overwhelming support for Palestinians and go, fuck off, don't care, shut the fuck up, and you know, throw out a couple feelers in the media like, oh, Israel, restrain yourself, Israel, restrain yourself. Well, they continue their fucking mass ethnic cleansing campaign with our weapons as we still send them bunker busters and the like, okay? In Turkey, on the other hand, the population is like, what the fuck? You know, what are you doing? Like, if Erdogan responded to the situation in the same way that John Fetterman did, he would probably get fucking assassinated, okay? People would be like, what are you saying? Are you insane? It would be unimaginably unpopular. He would unironically never win an election ever again. So he has to talk like that. He has to say these sorts of things because Turkey is not like America. The population, understandably, is overwhelmingly in support of Palestinians. They are overwhelmingly against American involvement. They are overwhelmingly against what Israel is doing. They are too close to the subject matter to see it as anything but that. And the same goes for every single fucking country in the region.
Damn. Taking the L.
His supporters support Palestine. The opposition is now acting all buddy-buddy with Israel because it's anti-Erdogan. Sure, whatever. Fuck the opposition. I mean, look at what they've fucking done so far, you know? They didn't do a great job anyway. They fucking lost.
Foundations, the political bridges that are being built between Britain, America, or being solidified between Britain and America and parts of Europe with the Israelis is, you know, in this part of the world, America is not held up in the same high esteem, and neither is Britain, to be frank. So they have a very, very different view. As far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned, he has tried to position himself again as fundamental to whatever goes on in this part of this region and this part of the world, and he's you know, the Bosphorus, the straits through here have been instrumental in allowing certain wheat and food supplies to go to Ukraine. So he's again positioned himself here and shown himself to be a real political survivor. As far as Gaza and Israel,
also look at the situation, even with Ukraine and Russia. Turkey is facilitating contracts with the Russian government to create nuclear power plants in Turkey, while simultaneously literally selling a metric fuck ton of weapons to Ukraine, including obviously the famous Bayraktar UAVs. Ultimately, whatever Turkey says is completely
no, we're
immaterial.
out of time.
What
Fuck.
Turkey
Okay, sorry.
does is what matters. Okay? Not selling it to Ukraine, giving it to Ukraine. NATO.
Israel is concerned, though, he is really pushing himself to the forefront.
Fuck, okay.
And
Sorry, I'm just getting...
There's definitely
someone from my
a very
work keeps on
strong
fucking
eye
contacting me,
future
and it's
election
very
prospects,
frustrating.
But also, it's fundamental to this area that there is peace or some sort of resolution. He's very much pushing the two-state.
Anyway. Well, how can you blame America for Kurdish
contact somebody else,
situations?
and they
Turkey
keep
actually
on
holds
saying
geopolitical
no.
power. Yeah, Turkey is a regional power player that has its own interest in its own designs in never allowing a Kurdish nation state to exist in the area. And America is allowing that to happen because America is the world power player. Turkey might have geopolitical power. It's a regional power, but America is the global superpower. Guys, I don't know what we're doing here. I know a lot of people try to make it seem as though my analysis on the matter is reductive by saying America bad, America bad. Hassan only thinks about it from a Western-centric point of view. But I think many of you fail to recognize that, like, one, America's actions are indeed bad, and two, America unironically does still control a lot of what happens in this region. Without the United States go-ahead, without the United States weapons, without the United States routinely fucking vetoing any kind of United Nations move against or criticism against Israel, Israel will not be able to operate the way it does. It is kind of silly that people regularly forget this reality or try to act like these nations are actually operating on their own and that, like, America is the smallest of the small.
No, these are custom lobby. These are people that in the chat that are playing.
It's still reductive. America is the fucking global.
It's not reductive at all. Like, America is bad.
And you are desperately trying to cope for some weird reason.
Literally. America is a terrible nation.
For some weird reason,
not the people.
You are desperately trying to cope with America's influence in all of these world affairs. I don't know why. You think in 1990, the United States was giving Israel $10 billion because it was a small bean to build new settlements specifically for Jews leaving the USSR? You think that was a small bean move? Like, you think that wasn't important? That doesn't hold any weight? Or since what, World War II, what is it, like more than $100 billion have been given to Israel from the United States of America? This is before we even factor in all of the other, like, local
The US has more blood on their hands than any other nation, yeah. 100%.
What kind of monetary support they send to Israel so that they can get IDF police training for their local police forces in places like fucking Mobile, Alabama. Why the fuck is the Terre Haute, Indiana local municipality giving millions of dollars to Israel? The fuck? What is that? Why are they doing that? Well, they're getting
I should have got that instead.
Cops,
Doesn't matter.
You know what I mean? Huh. Anyway.
He's sick. He has rheumatism. That's why I'm worried about him.
Palestinian mother of 6, Palestine Nakhle, is desperate for news. Her 12-year-old son, Karim, is in Israeli custody.
Oh God.
He's 12 years old. What do they want from him?
Guys, I'm gonna have to go. Unfortunately, this stuff I have to deal with, which is very frustrating. I want to play more, but I actually need to go and deal with stuff, which is really fucking annoying. And yeah. So I'm gonna send you guys to... Who's live? Well, I need to VO. Right. Bye, everyone. Hustle. Yeah, you take care as well, everyone. Like, there needs to be a rule where, like, you can't, like, be contacting me during hours. Like, because I can't not look at it, you know? Anyway. Fuck, it really pisses me off. Anyway.